So good to have you here right here on this very special show. We're calling it the monsoon storm because up ahead, the monsoon session of Parliament begins this Monday and the opposition is all set to confront the Modi government on crucial issues like the Sikkim border standoff with China, the unrest in the Kashmir Valley, the worst that we've seen in recent times, the rising mob lynching incidents all across the country. Fingers, of course, being pointed towards a hasty GST implementation, ill effects of demonetization still not worn off. The Modi government will have to answer some tough questions. But is the opposition prepared to take this the long haul? And is the opposition justified in opposing so much of this? I've got three very, very special guests. Pawan Khera from the Congress Party, Shaina NC from the BJP, and Yogendra Yadav joins us as well from the Swaraj Party. Thank you, each one of you, for being with us. Pawan Khera, let me begin with you. Monsoon session begins Monday. Are we staring at a storm ahead?
No party in its senses plans a storm. However, a responsible political party would definitely like to question the government on multiple failures, both internal and external, both within the country, law and order issues, and also on the borders, which are a cause of concern for every single Indian. So yes, we'll definitely bring to light all these failures of the government. We'll definitely corner the government. However, our intention never is to create unnecessary storms, unnecessary controversies. End of the day, we struggled a lot. Our legislative business we could not do when we were under UPA 2 because the BJP never allowed Parliament to function. So we are a responsible opposition. We will definitely expose this government and its failures, and that's our role.
Okay, expose means disruption, and I have covered enough parliament sessions to know that when you say you will corner the government, we should expect disruption going ahead. Shaina NC, how prepared is the government? How prepared are the treasury benches of a lot of disruption come the monsoon session of parliament? Because there are plenty of issues that the opposition would want to corner the government on.
No, but what are the concrete issues? I think that it's important to understand that in a democracy, the role and the job of the opposition is to bring to light anything that they feel is being done wrong. But when it comes to border security, when it comes to issues of national importance and national security, you have intelligence agencies doing their job, you have security advisors doing their job, and you have the Prime Minister himself monitoring the entire situation. Now, if the Congress Party feels disruption for the heck of disruption is the way to prove a point in the monsoon session, I think it's most unproductive because you have a government that has come to power only to work and to ensure that actions speak louder than words. And that's been our motto since day one, where people who want to disrupt can continue to do so. We will continue to work in the best interests of the country, whether it is security, whether it is issues of employment, or whether it's the absolute implementation of GST, an historic bill in the recent times.
Okay, Yogendra Yadav, come in on that. The Congress Party believes that it will corner the government on legitimate issues. They will not oppose just for the sake of it. Shaina NC believes that some of the issues that the Congress is perhaps going to point out have a lot to do with security forces, intelligence agencies, and it should be best left at that. The opposition should not be opposing for the sake of it. But what is your sense? Are we looking at a monsoon washout given the climate, given the narrative that exists around this session right now?
As someone who stands strictly outside, I can only speculate and I can hope. My own sense is, let me begin with my hopes first. In the last, the difference with the time that has left between the last session and this one, many very significant developments have taken place. GST, undoubtedly, if it was important enough to hold a almost a session of the parliament at midnight, surely it's worth debating. But equally important, in this period, the country has witnessed farmers' distress reaching a point which is unprecedented. We have seen farmers almost revolt across states, across 7, 8 states. We have seen that. We have seen firing on farmers. We have seen farmers losing patience. And as I speak to you at this moment, I'm myself part of a Kisan Mukti Yatra, which is traveling through 7 states to get a sense of what the farmers feel. And they, I can tell you, are clearly they're at the end of the tether. So that is something that I really, really hope would come up in this session. There is, given the kind of issues Parliament spends its time on, this would not be out of place for the Parliament to take out 2, 3, 4 days exclusively to discuss farmers' distress. There are other issues as well. There are issues of national security. And obviously, notwithstanding all the grandstanding by this government and big claims, the real issue that would come up is whether on questions of internal national security and external security, this government may have actually done worse than the government that existed before that. So these are obviously questions that should come up for scrutiny. I, for one, would hope that this leads to discussion, this leads to dialogue, this leads to at least the government being made to answer questions. I sincerely hope that the opposition would not simply resort to boycotts and walkouts. And I hope that, unlike last time, the ruling party would not wish to disrupt the parliament, which is so unprecedented and unheard of. But in terms of expectations, as an analyst, as someone who stands outside, I think the minimum conversation between the government and the opposition has collapsed. And therefore, I really do not expect very much except some grandstanding, except some boycotts and things of that sort.
Okay. All right. I get your point, and I'm going to quickly take a cue from that for both my other panelists, both Pawan Khera and Shaina NC. And Pawan Khera, if I may ask you first, the political grandstanding at both sides to which Yogendra Yadav is really referring has a lot to do with political pole positions that parties take. The fact that internal security has been a bit of a concern in the valley with Pakistan, the Sikkim border with China, it is obviously an issue that will resonate in Parliament. What I'm trying to understand from you is that the government has tried to reach out. An all-party meeting was called earlier today. Opposition was briefed. Are you willing to discuss, debate, have a dialogue on this? I mean, that is really my big question. Or will we see grandstanding, not just on your part, but even on the part of the ruling benches?
So we definitely expect the government to come out clean on all these aspects that you've just mentioned and many more. Amarnath Yatra, for example, it's a shame. I mean, the last attack was under the NDA again. So how come we provided such a smooth Amarnath Yatra in the last 10 years when we were in power? And why can't this government do this? Now, they owe it to not just to the Yatris, to the country, to all of us. They must come out clean. Yes, we'd like to have a discussion where they answer all these questions. They address all our concerns. What about the lynchings in the name of cow protection? They again owe it to the country. It doesn't help that the Prime Minister issues a statement and nobody takes him seriously. I don't believe it for a minute. Either he's weak or he's complicit. You have to make up your mind. And I also want to ask Shaina ji, I hope the Prime Minister will attend the House. His record of attending the Parliament is, I'm sorry, rather abysmal, very, very poor. So, if he doesn't take the House seriously, where do you ask these questions? Who do you have this discussion with? The border, of course, is very, very scary right now. It's a failure of our diplomacy. It's a failure of playing to the gallery kind of TRP diplomacy of ours. Our foreign policy is in tatters. No one knows what's happening. We have lost all our friends around us. I mean, Iran issuing a statement on Kashmir is uncalled for. Why? Why have we isolated our own friends? Our neighbors like Nepal, Maldives, they are showing us their eyes. Why? So these are questions that, yes, we want answers for.
Okay, you would want answers to questions, and you raised about 3 broad questions. First is deteriorating relations with neighbors all across, perhaps neighbors who were allies of India. The other part, of course, is national and security around borders, and the third, of course, has to do with lynching. Shaina NC, would you want to take this point head on that Pawan Khera has raised? The Prime Minister, his attendance in the House, who do you have a discussion with? The Prime Minister needs to be there. And if he's at all, denouncing things like lynching, why does it still carry on? Every day there is a new incident. Is he weak or is he complicit is the question that's coming in from the Congress party.
Our Prime Minister is neither weak nor complacent. I don't think the history of India has seen a Prime Minister who's more hard working, more committed to this country and more committed to nation building than Mr. Prime Minister Narendra Modi. And this is not me giving a certificate. If you look at the Forbes report recently, I'd only like to say, they have said the country which has the #1 position for maximum public support and public reposing faith in the leadership and the conviction of the leadership, that country happens to be India. I think these are facts that the Congress would want to ignore. I don't think we want a certificate from the Congress on the Prime Minister's working, because the country sees that a man who has not taken one day as a family holiday or even as an outing for himself has been committed to making relationships world over, traversing the length and breadth of India and overseas, globetrotting to 3 countries in less than 2 days, meeting with heads of states, explaining India's position, bettering relationships. Is this not something to talk about? You keep on harping about lynching. What is the Prime Minister's statement? He has said time and again, for any vigilant who takes law into their hands, they will be dealt with sternly and they will be put behind bars. I don't think there can be a more serious positioning of condemnation of so-called moral custodians of society who do so at their own risk and peril. It's important to understand that when India is on the brink of turning into a country that is viewed world over as a superpower, you will have certain stray incidents. What happened with the Yatra has been so shocking and so cowardly, but it shows you that terrorism too has to be dealt with collaboratively, collectively, and not by pointing fingers at one another, because that is clearly not the solution. Now, for those who want to only stall Parliament for the heck of stalling,
Okay. I think we'll have to just get China and see back. Her audio is kind of muffled there. But Pawan Khera, you had a quick point to make there. I'll take your point and then go across to Yogendra Yadav, because I do want to pull him into this point about whether the Prime Minister is weak or is he complicit. And is this an accusation should you be making at all, given that various party functionaries have made a statement that the BJP is going to denounce any cow vigilante taking law into their own hands? Very quickly, you make your point and then I'll move forward.
Well, I hope China is able to hear what I have to say. The same Forbes, when it came out with a damning article on demonetization, all their ministers, all their foot soldiers, they came out and said, who is Forbes? What is Forbes? Who are they? But a 2016 table data, which was collected in 2015, which came out in 2017, now they're all hiding behind that. Look at the desperation of my friend China ANC and her party. Today they are hiding behind the same Forbes which they're denouncing about a fortnight ago. Prime Minister's foreign trips. Well, we all know he's hardly here. He travels a lot. He loves traveling. What are the results? Where are the results? Where are our new friends? Have we become members of the nuclear suppliers group? What's happening? Are we in the UN Security Council? What are the results, I ask? Prime Minister has denounced Gau Rakshaks. Again, what are the results? Why aren't they listening to him? The Gau Raksha, suddenly these lynchings, why are they happening? What is the kind of ideological trigger that has started? What is the kind of politics that has come in this country? Who's responsible for that politics? Isn't the Prime Minister heading the same party? Who's responsible for this kind of politics? So don't give me that, oh, he's trying his best, he's running around, he's globe-trotting in 5 countries in 4 nights. Who's asked him to do that? Just go anywhere once, just get us the results. The country seeks results, full stop.
Okay, the country is seeking results. I'm going to get China ANC back on the line with us, and then I will get her to answer that question. But Yogendra Yadav, what is your sense? And I think, you know, we started off by saying that you fear there could be political grandstanding on both sides. I'm not saying the two people on my panel, both Pawan Khera and China NC, are doing that. But all I'm trying to understand from you is that whether it's lynching that is going to dominate discussions in Parliament, or whether it is farm distress, the order of the day, there are so many bills that need to be passed, about 6 odd legislative things on the agenda already. Where does the buck for all of this stop? Or do you believe that Parliament is the right the right platform to first discuss the controversial issues that are part of the national narrative? Legislation can wait.
Unfortunately, in this country currently, and for quite some time, the business of governance and the deliberations of parliament have been completely detached. The government goes about its own way, governing the way it pleases. It can be right, it can be wrong. But it is fair to say that they don't care very much for what happens inside the parliament. And this government has taken it to new heights. I thought Pawan Khera asked a question about Prime Minister's attendance in the Parliament that got quite unheard and unanswered. I would like to hear an answer to that. The simple fact is that the government could care less about what's happening in the Parliament. I'm not saying Congress was particularly spectacular on this, but this one is real pits. There are serious questions on foreign policy, external security, and so on. I would... my own sense is it's fair to say that this government doesn't quite understand the grammar of foreign policy. Foreign policy is a business that you don't conduct by giving statements from Red Fort, by those voice sort of like attitude. These are serious matters that need to be undertaken. On internal security, I would not draw too much on one particular sad and costly incident. I would not draw something about overall record of UPA and NDA. But the larger question, someone needs to simply check how many internal security breaches have taken place during this government's time compared to other governments. Has it come down dramatically as this government would like us to believe? If not, why not? Lynching is not just about lynching. It's not merely about these incidents which have grabbed some headlines. The fact is that minorities in general, and Muslims in particular, feel so completely marginalized, pushed to the wall as never before in the last 70 years. Now that is something surely the parliament of this country must discuss. The one statement by the Prime Minister, I didn't find the statement at all meeting the requirement. Because the statement, if it was serious, serious statements of this kind are about naming. You name an incident and say, I feel bad about this particular incident. It is about acknowledging, saying, yes, I know it's happening. I know it's happening in many states of this country. I know it's happening in many states ruled by my own party. The Prime Minister didn't say anything of these kinds. And third is to say, I will show you results in the next 6 weeks or something of that kind. I don't think the Prime Minister or the BJP would wish to hide behind the fact that this is state governments concerned law and order because most of these state governments are ruled by the BJP. So the Prime Minister has done none of these things which were required to respond seriously to the situation of lynching. And as for the farmers, I think the less said the better. The Prime Minister has spoken about many things. But one thing about the Prime Minister has not spoken is the killing of 6 farmers in Mandsaur. I didn't hear a statement. There are very, very serious concerns on the agrarian front right now. Farmers of this country waited for 2 years. They had bad monsoon. They put up with it, said this is their fate. But third year, when they have had good monsoon, they had good crop, and then all the prices plummeted. This has really broken the back of Indian farmers. And to my mind, this should be the principal concern of this coming monsoon session. I don't know if that would be the case. I don't know if the government would wish to even face the harsh truth of agrarian distress in this country.
Okay. So those are 4 important points that were made. I've got Shaina NC back on the phone line with us. And Shaina, I'm just going to quickly quote Pawan Khera to what he said in your absence because we lost that line with you. And his simple point is that while you're quoting Forbes right now, you're not quoting the same Forbes article which was very, very damning on the government as far as demonetization is concerned. And the point that now Yogendra Yadav is making, that the Prime Minister, you're right, globetrots a lot. He's trying to build relationships all across the world. But the fact is that he speaks very emphatically about many other issues. He hasn't spoken emphatically about lynching or even about the farmer distress. I mean, look at the farmer suicide all across the country. Anyone will tell you that India's hinterland, India's rural sector is going through a huge distress. Why are we not hearing the top voices on that? Because that is an issue that the opposition will definitely corner you on in Parliament. Shaina? Shaina, and see if my... Okay, I don't know if my audio is reaching. If my audio is reaching Shaina and see.
Yes.
Is my audio reaching Shaina and see?
Yes.
Hi,
I
Shaina, can you hear me? This is Supriya Srinath from the studios. I'm just asking for your reactions on the two things that Pawan Khera and Yogendra Yadav said, and they said that the Prime Minister hasn't made an emphatic statement either on lynching, he hasn't named incidents, and he hasn't spoken about the farmer suicide. It is to everybody's evidence that there is a huge rural distress. And these are issues that you will be cornered on in Parliament.
I want to just make one statement. Is there an agrarian crisis? Yes. Is there a solution? Yes. There are short-term measures, which obviously would be loan waivers and all kinds of subsidies and stuff. But what are the long-term solutions our government is working towards? I think it's important to understand that you're making the farmer empowered to the extent of not even relying on erratic weather patterns. We are talking about cash-rich crops. You've worked out a scheme called ENAM, where the farmer can actually sell products and produce directly to the consumer without having to go through the middleman. We're only focusing on the negatives. We are not even looking at the positive work that our government is doing. So I think it's important to understand that where there is commitment and where there is positive work, there will be criticism, there will be people who highlight the lacunas in the system, and they're welcome to do so, and we're responsible enough to answer. But for those who think that stalling Parliament is the only solution, I would only want to say we have been given a mandate to vote, work. The voter is extremely aware of the Prime Minister's commitment towards this entire dream of nation building. And I think that for those who only sit and criticize and bring up issues such as farmer suicides, they would probably want to go into the statistics of the past before commenting on the scenario in the present.
Okay, I will ask Pawan Khera to respond to what Shaina NC just said, but I'm also going to ask you this question. We all agree that there is a huge agrarian crisis that's facing India, and Yogendra Yadav is in the thick of things when he's talking about the Kisan Mukti Yatra and the 9th day of it, and he's leading one of those yatras. But Pawan Khera, while I agree that there's a huge agrarian crisis, and the government needs to do a lot more than what it is doing, they're both short-term and long-term measures. Enough has not been done even when you were in power. You were in power for 10 long years just 3 years back.
Supriya, what my friend Shaina just said is a very South Mumbai, I'm sorry to be sounding the way I am sounding, and a very Lutyens way of looking at agrarian crisis. Very senior analyst who's respected far and wide, Yogendra Yadav would be in a better position to comment on what she just said, but I'm shocked at what she said. Compare data. I'm sorry, farmers died then also, farmers are dying now also. Then they committed suicide, now they're also being shot. They're being shot under the BJP ruled states. What is happening? Now, give me one example of a head rolled in Madhya Pradesh when 6 farmers were killed in cold blood. Instead, what these people were doing were, no, it's the Congress gundas who are doing this. They're not farmers. They're not even farmers. People who died have nothing to do with agriculture. So this whataboutery and this kind of very strange outrage that they showed, which was misplaced, it stands exposed. So this particular government, farmers do not exist in their scheme of things. By her response, we can see that. She then tells us that, on terrorism we should all be one. We should not oppose the government. I want to remind her, what was Mr. Narendra Modi doing as Chief Minister of Gujarat in Bombay, which has nothing to do with Gujarat, soon after 26/11. In fact, on 28/11, he was there holding a press conference right in front of Taj, and the security forces were still battling the terrorists. So don't give us moral lectures on how to deal with terrorism. You have no idea how to cooperate with the government. Please don't teach us that. And their priorities, Mr. Yadav has rightly raised the issue of farmers. I also want to flag one more issue of Darjeeling, where their own ally, GJM, look at what they are doing in Darjeeling. The Prime Minister and this government owes an explanation to the country. Why can't they tame their own ally there? Come out clean. Are you for Gorkhaland? Are you not for Gorkhaland? Why are you playing with fire in Darjeeling?
Okay, so that's a point that Shaina NC needs to respond to, but I know Yogendra Yadav wants to come in on the point of the agrarian crisis. Mr. Yadav?
If I ask too many questions and make too many comments, then China may not be able to answer that. So let me ask just one question, which has several subparts. Is it not true, China, that your government, when the BJP made a written promise in its manifesto that it would offer 50% over cost as price to the farmers, is it not true that your government gave an affidavit in the Supreme Court and said this is not possible once having come to the power? Is it not true that the farmers' price increase that your government has done is substantially less than what even the Congress government, which was not a farmer-friendly government, actually gave? And is it not true that this year farmers' product prices have collapsed across crops?
Shaina NC, these are direct questions, and would you want to answer each one of them? The BJP first promised a 50% over the cost to farmers, then they gave an affidavit that it can't be done. Now, of course, the price increase has been very dismal. Quickly answer that, because I'm going to take closing comments on the parliament session that begins Monday.
Our government is probably the only government that has not only worked on giving farmer waivers and loans, but if you look at the schemes, whether it's the Bima Yojana, the Jan Dhan Yojanas, the Mudra Banking Yojanas, which have been of avail to the agrarian sector. And if you look at the statistics, you would only realize that there are short-term measures for the long-term solutions, which means better irrigated land, not relying on only weather and global changes, but to ensure that we have even great monumental schemes like Jal Yug Shivar, which have been a huge success in Maharashtra, implemented in other states, are all positive steps. Now, if you're expecting an overnight solution or a solution in a couple of years to a damage which has been done the past 60 years, we have to collaboratively work, and every individual needs to either support or come up with concrete criticism rather than just stalling. Stalling of Parliament serves no purpose, and we all know that this monsoon session is extremely important. Post GST, the conscious effort of this government that everyone collaboratively understands what we propose to do and where India is heading is something that we must all work on collectively.
Shaina, may I ask you a direct and a frank question? Apart from the NPA ordinance that of course needs to be assented by Parliament to become a law for NPA resolution to happen, there isn't order of work that needs to be done which is very pressing like the GST was in the previous session. Is this why the government perhaps has reached out to the opposition a little late?
No, the government has always reached out to the opposition, and I do believe that in a democracy we want the opposition to be participative rather than just always being on this agitative mode, because that really is no solution for the taxpayers who are looking for bills to be passed, looking for work to happen, and looking for income to the state.
Okay. All right, Pawan Khera, very quickly then, the government has a NPA ordinance that needs to be made into a law come this session of Parliament, and that's important because India's economy is saddled with bad loans. Unless don't resolve, investments will not happen, jobs will be not created, and as a responsible opposition, you would want that to happen as well. Will you support legislations like these to at least see the light of day?
I love the words, the choice of words of Shaina. Collaboration, cooperation. I remember when Mr. Arun Jaitley was cornered under the UPA for not allowing the parliament to function. He said that, okay, in this country, governance, 90% of governance happens despite parliament. So I understand, and we all know the kind of importance the BJP accords to the functioning of parliament. So, I mean, it's very amusing when they come and use words like collaboration and so on and so forth. And regarding crop loans, let me remind her, the crop insurance has only helped the insurance companies and not the farmers, as Mr. Yogendra Yadav would tell you. So, please don't hide behind these schemes which have done nothing for the farmers. And yes, you had promised the stars and you turned on your word, you went back on your word within 6 months of coming to power as far as the farmers are concerned. We'd like to cooperate with the government, provided the government is also ready to answer some uncomfortable questions, provided the Prime Minister is there to face these questions, and provided the country gets answers.
So there will be questions put up. The government will have to answer. The opposition will have to play a responsible role. But as I see things on this Friday evening, there's a lot of political grandstanding on both sides. We are perhaps headed into a very, very stormy monsoon session. Pawan Khera, Shaina NC and Yogendra Yadav, thank you very much for being with us right here on ET Now with your views up ahead on the monsoon session.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.